Have you ever looked around and wondered where everyone went? You know, those people who used to call, who used to stop by just to say hello. It's funny how, as we grow older, the noise starts to fade. The house gets quieter. The phone doesn't ring as often. And sometimes, you catch yourself thinking, maybe I should have more friends. Maybe I'm missing something. I used to feel that way all the time. I thought that the more people I had around me, the fuller my life would feel. I chased after connections, joined every club, went to every gathering, smiled through conversations that didn't really mean much. But deep down, I was tired of trying to fill a space that couldn't be filled with just more people. Then, one day, something changed. It wasn't dramatic, no big revelation, no lightning bolt moment. It happened slowly, like a quiet sunrise. I started realizing that what I really needed wasn't more friends, it was the right kind of peace. You see, when you reach your 70s, you start seeing friendships differently. When you were young, friends meant excitement, laughter, adventure. You wanted to belong, to be included, to be part of something bigger. But as time goes on, you begin to understand that not every smile is sincere, and not every connection feeds your soul. I remember sitting alone one evening, thinking about all the people who used to be part of my life, friends from work, neighbors who moved away, even family who grew distant. I felt a sting of loneliness, yes, but also a strange kind of relief. I realized that life had gently been trimming away what no longer served me. The truth was, I didn't lose friends, I just outgrew relationships that weren't meant to last forever. That was the first lesson I learned at 75. Not every friendship is supposed to last a lifetime. And that's okay. Some people come into our lives just to teach us something, maybe about love, patience, forgiveness, or even about ourselves. Once their purpose is done, they move on. And holding on to them, trying to keep something alive that has already faded, only drains your peace. I used to chase after people who drifted away. I'd call, I'd send messages, I'd wonder what I did wrong. But one day, I stopped. Not out of pride, but out of understanding. I realized that if someone wants to stay, they will. And if they don't, no amount of reaching out will make them. When I stopped chasing, I started noticing something beautiful. The quiet spaces in my life weren't empty after all. They were just waiting to be filled with things that truly mattered. A morning walk. A good cup of tea. A chat with the neighbor who genuinely cared. Suddenly, my days felt lighter, calmer, more real. That's when I learned the second lesson. It's not the number of friends that makes life full, it's the quality of your connections. You don't need a crowd to feel loved. You need a handful of genuine souls who see you, not for what you have, not for what you can give, but simply for who you are. Maybe that's one old friend you still talk to every week, or your daughter who calls to check on you, or that kind lady at the store who always greets you with a smile. These small, authentic moments, that's where true friendship lives. When you're younger, you think friendship is about doing everything together. You go places, make plans, fill up every hour. But as you grow older, friendship becomes quieter. It's about presence, not activity. It's about knowing someone is there, even if they don't say a word. I have a friend like that, Mary. We've known each other for over 40 years. We don't talk every day, sometimes not even every month. But when we do, it's like no time has passed at all. We sit, drink tea, and just talk. About nothing and everything. That kind of connection doesn't need constant attention. It grows deeper in silence, stronger with time. And that brings me to something else I've learned, something I wish I had understood decades earlier. It's okay to enjoy your own company. When I was younger, being alone felt like punishment. I'd fill the silence with noise, the TV, the radio, phone calls, anything to avoid that feeling of being by myself. But now, I treasure those moments. Sitting by the window, listening to the wind, feeling the sunlight on my face, that's peace. That's friendship with yourself. It took me 75 years to realize that loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Loneliness is when you crave someone's presence. Solitude is when you find comfort in your own. And once you make peace with being alone, you stop depending on others to make you happy. You start to feel whole, even when it's just you. I used to think having more friends meant I was loved. But love isn't measured by how many people surround you. It's measured by how much peace you feel when no one else is around. Because if you can sit in silence and still feel content, you've already found the truest friend you'll ever have, yourself. These days, when people ask me if I get lonely, I smile. I tell them, no, I get quiet. And in that quiet, I find the parts of life that I used to miss when I was too busy chasing after everyone else. You see, we live in a world that tells us we need to be surrounded, connected, social. But the truth is, peace doesn't come from how many people you know, it comes from how deeply you know yourself. And once you find that peace, the right people, the ones who truly matter, naturally find their way back to you. Sometimes they've been there all along. Watching and feel that these insights are meaningful. Please type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I warmly invite you to do so, and don't forget to turn on the bell, so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos designed to uplift, inform, and inspire. Your support truly means a lot. It's what keeps us going and allows us to continue sharing thoughtful, helpful content just for you. Now, let's continue this journey together. You know, as the years go by, something else becomes clear: people change, and so do we. The friends who once made us laugh may no longer understand us the same way. The things that used to bring us together don't always hold us close anymore. And that's okay. It's not because anyone has failed, it's just life shifting its rhythm. I used to think that losing touch meant something was wrong. That maybe I didn't try hard enough or that others didn't care. But now, I see it differently. Life has its seasons, and so do relationships. There's a season for companionship, for raising kids together, for working side by side, for shared routines. And then there's a season of quiet, when paths drift apart, not out of anger or neglect, but because we're simply walking in different directions now. When I stopped fighting that change, I felt lighter. I started appreciating the friends who were still there, not because they had to be, but because they wanted to be. The truth is, the older you get, the more you value effort. When someone calls you just to ask how you're doing, it means something. When they remember your birthday, when they drop off soup because you weren't feeling well, when they sit beside you without needing to talk, that's real friendship. It's not about grand gestures. It's about quiet consistency. And the funny thing? The more you stop expecting, the more you receive. I remember a time when I used to expect too much from people. I wanted them to visit, to call, to make me feel included. But those expectations were like heavy weights. The more I carried them, the more disappointed I became. I'd catch myself thinking, why didn't they call me back, or why didn't they invite me? It was exhausting. Then one day, I asked myself, when was the last time I reached out just to say hello? That question changed everything. Because sometimes, we wait for others to do what we could easily do ourselves. A simple message, a kind word, a smile, it costs nothing, but it can mean everything. When I started focusing on what I could give, instead of what I wasn't getting, my heart opened up again. That's when I learned one of the most important lessons of all: real friendship isn't about keeping score. When you're younger, friendship feels like a balance sheet. You call, you visit, they visit. But after 70, you realize that relationships are not transactions, they're gifts. Some days, you'll give more, other days, you'll receive more. But what matters most is that the exchange comes from the heart. I have a neighbor, James, a widower in his 80s. Every morning, he waves from his porch when I go for my walk. Sometimes he brings over a few tomatoes from his garden, and sometimes I bring him a plate of cookies. We don't talk about much, just the weather, the flowers, the little things. But that small, steady connection has become one of the most comforting parts of my day. There's no pressure, no expectations, just kindness, quietly shared. And that's the beauty of friendship at this age. It becomes simpler, softer, and more genuine. You stop needing people to entertain you. You stop trying to impress. You just start being. And the people who stay, they're the ones who truly belong. I think one of the hardest things about getting older is realizing that not everyone you love will walk the entire journey with you. Some leave too soon. Some drift away. And some are taken before you're ready to let go. Those losses carve deep spaces in your heart. But over time, those spaces become reminders of love, laughter, and life shared. I used to visit my friend Clara every week at the nursing home. She was sharp as ever, even in her late 80s. One day, she told me something I'll never forget. She said, I used to think losing friends meant my world was shrinking. But really, it's just making room for peace. That stuck with me. Because peace is exactly what replaces the noise of too many shallow connections. When you stop trying to hold on to everyone, you start holding on to yourself. You start choosing who deserves your time, your stories, your laughter. And that choice, that freedom, is one of the greatest gifts of aging. It's funny how society tells us that loneliness is something to be afraid of. But sometimes, being alone is how you find clarity. It's how you rediscover who you are when you're not defined by anyone else. You start remembering the things that make you happy, the music you love, the hobbies you forgot, the quiet joy of doing nothing at all. I once spent an entire afternoon painting, something I hadn't done since my 30s. The light was warm, the air was still, and for a few hours, I felt completely present. When I finished, I looked at the canvas and realized it didn't matter whether it was good or not. What mattered was that I had created something that came from me. That's the same feeling true friendship gives you. It doesn't demand, it doesn't take, it brings out your best without asking you to change. And when you start valuing your own peace, your relationships change naturally. You begin to attract people who match your calm, your kindness, your honesty. People who don't drain you, but fill your spirit. You laugh more, you forgive faster, and you stop chasing closure for things that don't need explaining. That's what aging gracefully really means, not just wrinkles and wisdom, but peace with what was, gratitude for what is, and trust in what's still to come. I often think about how many hours I wasted worrying about who liked me, who called me, who didn't. If I could go back, I'd tell my younger self, stop counting people. Start counting moments. Because it's the small, real moments, the shared meal, the kind word, the silent understanding, that make a life feel full. Now, at 75, I don't need 100 friends. I just need truth, love, and a few good souls who understand the beauty of silence. And that, my friends, is worth more than any crowded room. When I look back now, I realize that all those years I spent chasing connection were really about something deeper. I just wanted to feel seen. I think that's true for most of us. We want to know that we matter, that someone notices when we're not around, that our stories are worth hearing. But here's the beautiful thing I've learned at 75, being seen doesn't always come from others. Sometimes, it comes from finally seeing yourself. When you start truly accepting who you are, wrinkles, regrets, laughter lines, all of it, something shifts inside you. You stop trying to prove anything to anyone. You don't need validation anymore. You realize that you are enough, exactly as you are. That quiet confidence, that peace, is what draws the right people toward you. I used to think I needed to fill every empty moment with company. I was afraid of silence, afraid it meant something was missing. But now, I see silence as sacred. It's where I recharge, reflect, and reconnect with what really matters. Sometimes, sitting by the window with a cup of tea and watching the world go by is more fulfilling than any party could ever be. There's a deep comfort in learning to enjoy your own company. It doesn't mean you don't love others, it means you finally love yourself enough not to feel lonely when you're alone. That's the kind of peace I wish everyone could find, no matter their age. I think many of us grow up believing that being surrounded by people equals happiness. But over time, you learn that the real joy comes from depth, not numbers. You can sit with one person who truly understands you and feel more alive than at a table full of noise and chatter. And if you're lucky, that one person might even be you. One day, not too long ago, I was sitting in the park, watching kids play, listening to the birds, feeling the breeze on my face. A young man sat beside me and started chatting. He said, "Sir, don't you ever get lonely sitting here alone?" I smiled and told him, "No, son. I'm not alone, I'm just peaceful." He looked confused, but I could tell he was thinking about it. That's the thing, we spend so much of our lives trying to escape ourselves that we forget how much wisdom and warmth we already carry inside. When you finally stop running, you find that peace has been waiting for you all along. It's not that friends don't matter. They do. But friendship changes meaning as we age. It's no longer about shared hobbies or constant contact, it's about shared understanding. Sometimes that means sitting quietly together without a word. Sometimes it's a phone call once a month that feels like no time has passed at all. The measure of a good friendship isn't how often you talk, it's how deeply you connect when you do. I think of my old friend Margaret. We don't talk often these days, but when we do, it's as if no time has passed. We laugh about old memories, share a few updates, and hang up with full hearts. That's enough. That's love without demand, connection without pressure. You learn to stop measuring friendship by the wrong standards: who visits the most, who calls first, who remembers every little thing. You start measuring it by the peace you feel when you think of someone. By the warmth that lingers after they're gone. By how safe it feels to just be yourself in their presence. And that brings me to the greatest lesson of all: life isn't about collecting people, it's about collecting moments of meaning. You might have only a few close friends, or even just one, but if that one person truly gets you, truly cares, that's all you need. And if you have no one close right now, that's okay too. Because every day is a chance to build new connections, not the kind built on convenience or habit, but on honesty and shared humanity. Sometimes the best friendships start later in life: a neighbor you wave to, someone you meet at the park, a volunteer group, a book club. It's never too late to open your heart again, but the difference now is that you open it with wisdom. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer try to fit in, you simply belong, wherever kindness is. At 75, I finally understand that friendship isn't about filling space, it's about sharing light. When your heart is full, you don't need a crowd to feel complete. You become the kind of person whose presence comforts others, not because you have all the answers, but because you've learned that peace is contagious. And maybe that's the secret to growing older gracefully, realizing that happiness doesn't depend on how many people stand beside you, but how deeply you stand within yourself. So if you've been feeling like your circle has gotten smaller, don't see it as loss. See it as refinement. Life has gently filtered out the noise and left you with what's real: your peace, your purpose, and the few souls who truly matter. That's not something to mourn. That's something to celebrate. Take a moment today to reach out to someone who makes you smile. Not out of obligation, but out of gratitude. And just as importantly, take a moment to sit quietly with yourself. No phone, no TV, no distractions. Listen to your own heart. You might be surprised at how much comfort you find there. Because here's the truth: the older you get, the more you realize that friendship starts with you. You can't pour love from an empty cup. But when you fill yourself with peace, joy, and acceptance, you start shining in a way that naturally draws the right people in. So whether you're surrounded by family, close friends, or simply the sound of your own thoughts, remember, you are not alone. You are complete, whole, and worthy of love, exactly as you are. If this message touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experiences, what friendship means to you now, what you've learned as you've grown older. And if you enjoyed this conversation, please like the video and subscribe for more reflections on living well, aging gracefully, and finding joy in every season of life. Here's to you, to the peace you've found, the wisdom you've earned, and the quiet, beautiful strength of standing comfortably in your own company. Because sometimes, the best friend you'll ever have is yourself.